All right, in this lesson, we're going to take a look at palm muting. Now, palm muting is really essentially what the name says. You're using your palm to mute the strings. Now, you're going to hear this in lots of different styles. I like to use it all the time. I like to use it, when I'm using my pick, when I'm strumming something. Sometimes with finger picking, I'll use it. There are lots of different ways that you're going to use it. So it's definitely a technique that you really want to use, get comfortable with, and you'll find ways of using it that benefit your playing or sound right to you, that you're going to choose to use it in a particular way. Oftentimes with your strumming hand, what's actually happening is you're actually using your strumming hand to give the song some character, give it some dynamics. Your fretting hand, you're playing the chords, you're playing the notes there, but it's your strumming hand that really allows you to express yourself creatively in terms of how you want this song to sound. So that's where you can really add in your own style, your own flavor. It really helps sort of enhance the song that you're playing. Now let's take a closer look at the strumming hand. Again, your fretting hand, you're just going to be either playing the chords or fretting the notes, but it's your strumming hand that will do the actual muting. Okay, so here's what you're going to use when you're muting the strings. You're going to use the heel of your palm. And you're actually going to rest it just like this, as if you're strumming, but now you're taking this part of your hand and just resting it against the strings. Now it's really up to you in terms of how hard you press, depending on the sound that you're going for. And this will just be a matter of trial and error, just kind of figuring out for yourself what's going to work for you, what type of song you're playing, and how you want to play it. But there are two different approaches to using your palm for palm muting. It's all about either how hard you're pressing down on the strings and also where you're pressing down on the strings in relation to the body of your guitar. So if you go back towards the bridge, you're going to hear a different tone, a different sound than you would if you were up here. So I'll show you as an example. Watch what happens if I'm strumming it open. The notes are going to ring out. Now when you use palm muting, what's happening is you're muting the notes so that they don't sustain as long. Now watch what happens if I have my hand just resting close to the bridge of the guitar. The notes don't sustain. And that's really what you're going for with this particular style of strumming. Now watch what happens if I go up closer to the neck. You're not really going to hear anything. I mean, you'll hear just muted strings, and maybe that's what you're going for. But as I go closer and closer to the bridge, you're going to start to hear it more. Until I take my hand off. All right, so if you're going for that percussive kind of muted sound, you'll kind of have your hand up here. But if you want, just the notes to still kind of ring out a little bit, you'll go closer to the bridge of the guitar. Okay, so it's almost like if you're looking at technique, proper technique, it's almost like a karate chop, right beside the bridge. So you're going to give it a little karate chop. If you press down really hard, it'll mute it even more. Let go, let it go a bit. You'll start to hear those notes kind of ringing out again. So a couple different ways you can do it. You can actually have your hand right on the strings while you're playing it. Or you can kind of use it while you're strumming. That's another way of doing it. So if you're just going, use a lot for dynamics, or using it for finger picking. Now that's totally open. Now if I have my hands, so lots of different ways that you can use palm muting, but essentially really a big part of it is just trying it yourself and just finding out what the song calls for, what kind of sound you're looking for, what tone you're going for, whether you want the strings to ring out a little bit or a lot, or whether you just want that percussive sort of muted sound. It's really up to you and the song to sort of come up with, the best method, the best way to hold your hand on the strings. So again, it's really, in terms of technique, you're just using the heel of the palm of your hand. For me, I like to just think of it as a karate chop, getting it nice and close to the bridge. Sometimes I'll play it and I'll lift my hand off. So you still kind of get that muted sound, but it still rings out a bit. So. So that is palm muting. Lots of different ways that you can use it. This is an introduction to that concept of using your palm to mute the strings. You can use it in different ways. Find out what the song calls for and then play it the way that feels right for the song and the way that you can play it. So try, using your hand in different areas of the guitar and just listen to it as you kind of hear the different sounds. You hear the resonance, you hear the strings vibrating in different ways. Again, a lot of it is trial and error, just finding the best method, the best style, depending on the song, depending on the guitar, the way that you're playing it, so on and so forth. But that would be your introduction to palm muting. I'll see you soon for another lesson.